Hello everybody, hello and welcome to Ask Karl G episode 28. Now you can see here I've got my laptop so I can have a look at your comments, and which means I've got a camera. I'm not using the laptop camera, I've got a new camera. It's a little bit better quality, I think. I'm assuming that everybody can hear me. So I'm just going to, there's nobody watching yet, so I'm not going to get a response. I'm just going to bob this little comment on here. If you'd like to ask a question, add your own personalization, context and get conversation going, then click on the link that I'll put in the comments and you can join the show. If you're feeling a bit shy, you don't want to do that, then feel free to stick a comment or a question in the comments. And if I don't get to it today, then I'll get to it next time. Cheers. Well, hoping that you can hear. Is anybody on yet? There's two people on. Can you hear me? Can you? Yeah. Hoping you can. Jacqueline, how do you do? Thank you very much. How do you do is a funny one. How do you do? The correct answer to how do you do is how do you do. How do you do is a greeting, not a question. And presumably it turned into howdy, which again is a greeting, not a question. You wouldn't go howdy, oh, very well, thank you. But there we are, it's a greeting, not a question. Good, hello, Karis, how are you? Hello, that's brilliant. So what I wanted to talk about today, I'll just pop this down for a second. I'll have to pick it up if I see any comments come in. What I wanted to talk about today, I think is super important. I'm going to talk about panic and nerves and anxiety and panic attacks. Because it's that obviously we're in lockdown and we're in the middle of winter. I imagine quite a lot of people are worried about money, careers, relationships, self-esteem, and a significant proportion will be having their lives blighted by panic and panic attacks. This whole conversation came about from a discussion about horses, and someone was saying that they've got lots of confidence on their horse and was moving on very well, and then something happened. A lorry had gone past too close or something, and the horse had spooked, and they'd obviously had a fright, and then started saying the what ifs, and they were terribly disappointed in themselves for having had a fright, and was cross because they were like, I don't want to go back to that place where I'm not confident, and almost began to read into this fright something more than it was. And we had a conversation, and it was super simple. The fact is, yes, you've had a fright. I go out on horses, and if something happens, I get a fright. But equally, if I go down the shops and a car comes zooming around the corner and nearly knocks me over, I get a fright. If I slip on a bit of ice, I get a fright. I get a lurch in my stomach for any amount of reasons. It's just part of life. But to read into it and start giving it meaning that it doesn't have, such as, of course, the lorry goes past, your horse jumps, you get a fright, but then to read meaning into it that you're losing your confidence, that's the difference. Because obviously I'd be exactly the same. I don't float around in a cloud of confidence. The lorry goes past, the horse jumps, I get a fright, and then I carry on. In the same way that I cross the road, the car comes too close, I get a fright, I carry on. I'm walking along in the woods, and suddenly there's a snake, and I get a fright, and then I realise that it's a hose pipe that for some reason has been left in the woods, and I laugh. I wouldn't for 1 minute start to read into it that I'm going to develop a fear of garden equipment, or it's only the fear of the fear that's starting us to read things into it. So please don't think that confidence is floating around in a cloud of calm and relaxation that you can just quite happily take situations that could potentially be dangerous and then not react to them. Of course you're going to react to them. Does that make sense? Let's just have a quick look. I'm just going to have a quick look at your comments. Pop these up here. There we are. Oh, Eddie, hello. I've been thinking about my visit to you. So you're in lockdown, we're in lockdown. It's not going to happen soon. I'm going to go to. You'll see a comment there, Akmal Dahalan, and for some reason I've called you Eddie, but there we are. I believe a lot of people do. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. And we're going to go over. He's got a horse archery centre and so much more in Malaysia. And we'll go over and we'll do a little travel documentary about that. So I'm looking forward to that. But yes, we need to talk because this lockdown's carrying on a bit much. Hello, hello, hello. I'm just having a quick look at your comments there. Hi, Hells. Hi, Ali. Let me just read Jacqueline's. Oh, Jacqueline, I might give me a chance to have a little think about that, and we'll see if we can answer that tomorrow. The what ifs are the worst. So the what ifs. Excuse me for drinking my coffee. Best way to deal with a what if is to dedicate the time into if thens. So what if the horse rears? If you can change that into if the horse rears, then I will do that, then you're going to feel a lot better. What if I fall off? If I fall off, then I'll do this. You're going to feel a lot better, so that you've got a plan. In terms of the story that I was just saying, when the lorry went past, actually, I'm really glad you put that comment because it was part of the conversation. When the lorry went past, excuse me, then the rider began to think about the what ifs. Oh, what if that had gone wrong? What if this had gone wrong? What if that had gone wrong? But actually what she did, she's part of my Mountain Division Ultimate Rider Confidence 3-month online course. The next intake will be in February. So if you'd like to join in on the next intake, that's coming up soon. Anyway, enough adverts. What she did was exactly correct. She, without hesitation, pushed the horse on and carried on straight into it and didn't make a fuss. But nonetheless, as often happens, the little what ifs pop up. What if this happened? What if that happened? And then we start to worry that we've lost our confidence and we've taken a step back. But what I glossed over in my little sentence there, and I did it deliberately, was what she did was exactly right. Push on. Get straight back on it. So I've glossed over it again. Just think about that. What she actually did was exactly right, exactly what the horse needed. What does a horse do when a lorry goes too fast and it jumps? Okay, there's a question for you. What does a horse do when a lorry goes too fast, too close, and the horse jumps? There's a question. You got 5 seconds to write the answer. That's it. Anyone's getting the repetition. I've got catchphrases. Maybe I should do a T-shirt with this on. Let's have a little look. What does a horse do when a lorry goes too fast, too close? Looks and freezes. That's not correct. It jumps and gets settled and move on. Nearly. Caris has got it. Exactly what it's told. What does a horse do when the lorry goes too fast and jumps? Exactly what it's told. So if you're asking the horse to move on out into the road, as this situation was, and the lorry didn't see, and it didn't, they were waiting at a T-junction, and the horse jumps. Of course, the horse can't help but jump, but the horse does exactly what it's told. This has got two parts to it. If in any situation the horse does what it's told, it's got two parts to it. One, we will expect the horse to continue to be a well-trained, well-mannered, well-behaved horse doing a good response to whatever it's asked. We should expect that. You shouldn't expect your horse, even in that situation where suddenly its adrenaline is up, you shouldn't expect your horse to then become unruly and ill-mannered. If you expect it to behave correctly, the chances are it will behave correctly. People often make excuses for their horses, so that if there's a bunch of new horses in a field and they all come running over and your horse is on the road, some riders might say, well, you know, just give him a chance to stop and have a look at it and make up his own mind. And unless the horse is in the fear zone, I wouldn't recommend letting it make up its own mind, because it might make up its own mind that this isn't okay or whatever. Provided we're in the learning zone or the comfort zone and nothing's desperately wrong, I'd expect the horse to carry on. Of course, I'm not stupid. Of course, it's going to be a bit snorty and a little bit necks up and a little bit ears and turning and possibly moving away. But my expectation is that we're going to get back onto our straight line and our lovely consistent trot or whatever we were doing as soon as possible. That's my expectation. That's one half of saying a horse does what it's told. The other half of a horse does as it's told is it puts the onus on you. The responsibility is on you at this moment to tell it something. Tell the horse what you want. If you're going to freeze, and if you're going to go, oh, that bloody lorry was too close and it was too far, and spend your time going "Roar" at the lorry, and you're not telling the horse anything, well, the horse was obeying you a second ago. It was going up to the T-junction and standing quietly. Then it got a fright and you just stopped telling it anything. How can it do what it's told if you have gone off the rails? So keep control of yourself, tell the horse exactly what it's told, and off we go. So it takes great presence of mind, and it might even be worth setting yourself up some practice spooks. When they're practice spooks, I said this the other day, a practice spook is called a challenge. So if you're challenging yourself to carry a flag or go past the obstacles that you make in your arena, or pin a feed bag to the fence and just get the horse to go large without deviating at the feed bag, you know, that sort of thing. They're challenges, but challenges are actually practice spooks, so that you and the horse get the practice to cope with spooks. And A, you tell it what to do, carry on in a nice consistent manner, and B, you expect the horse to do what you've told it. That is the partnership and the bond that you want. And you could practice that over and over again with a million different things that you could just spend your whole time thinking of new challenges. And that's the point. I mean, you can do a challenge of somebody kicking a football around, and chances are you won't ever meet somebody kicking a football around. But it doesn't matter what the challenge is. You will find challenges out there. We had a little conversation the other day about pushchairs, and that doesn't mean that you now need to go and find a load of pushchairs and spend a load of money getting pushchairs. You could, if you've desensitized them to trumpets, accordions, and bicycles, then pushchairs is just along that as well. So this lady did exactly as she should, which is amazing. Absolutely perfect horsemanship. She got the horse to do it. She kept herself together, told the horse exactly what to do, and expected the horse exactly to do it. So the lorry went past, the horse jumped, and immediately she was like, get on, you know, nice consistent trot, and they're off down the road. But, and this is where the fly is in the ointment, but she was beating herself up that she'd felt frightened. Actually, what we need to emphasize is that in spite of being frightened, she had done exactly the right thing. She had shown horsemanship worthy of any horse person that you could possibly think of. It was absolutely fabulous. And if she'd have gone down the road acknowledging that her horsemanship was actually spot on, despite the fact that she'd had a rush of adrenaline, that would have beaten her what ifs. In fact, she'd have felt even better. She'd have felt, even in this extreme situation on the bee's knees, she wouldn't have spent her time thinking about the what ifs. So we mustn't read into a little panic that means anything other than this is just part of life. It happens to me. We don't float around in a cloud of confidence. There we are. Let's have a quick look at your comments again. Super. Oh, look at that. People are learning. What it's told. What it's bloody told. Ask me. What you tell it to. Lovely. Top of the class. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. So we just need to talk a little bit about panic attacks and panic. But I noticed Nicola's just come on into the waiting room. So I think, Nicola, we'll do your question first. Because after this conversation that I'd had, I then went and did a little bit of podcasting and listening to podcasts, come up with a really interesting thing about panic attacks and panic, which is as applicable to lockdown and the situations that we have. But I'll just ask Nicola her question first. So let me just bob you on, Nick.
Hello. Hello. Well, I'm on track then, because I'm just going to say panic attacks and panic, because as you know, I was the guilty party of having a little wobble, and I would get off Shadow and fail her completely. So my logic thinking had to start stepping up. No, I'd literally get off her and go, want to get back on. Little tiny me can't get back on big 17-hand horse. Doesn't work very well. So we've had to work really, really hard. And I realised that...
And you have worked really, really hard.
We have worked hard.
We'll just introduce you, if anybody doesn't know. Were you in the original beta
I
group?
was original mounted division, yeah. So the badly behaved bunch.
So actually, quite a lot of the mounted division ultimate rider confidence course, 3 months long, on every subject you can think of, including mental attitudes and that, was partly created by Nicola as well as myself and the other members of the beta group. So anyway, I've interrupted now, Nicola. Now you've introduced yourself. Carry on.
Yeah, so I suppose for those that don't know me in Shadow, Shadow is a 17-hand Irish draft, ex-police horse, but only ex because she couldn't cope with the heavy London traffic, so has had all the police training. So in my head, I go, I should be able to do anything with this horse. This should be Mrs. Indestructible. But I started panicking, going, well, she doesn't like it. I'll get off. She'll be safer with me on the ground. Absolutely no help to her whatsoever. So me and my panicking, bit by bit, then led to her then saying, I'm going to nap, Mum. I'm just going to plant and not move. And when it's 17 hands and as big as her, I'm only 5 foot. I can't move it. So it ended up being a vicious circle. Hence, I came on the mounted division and say, right, we need to sort this stuff out. In my head at that point, I thought it's the horse that needed to be sorted out. Hadn't really processed that it was me that needed to be sorted out, not the horse. Because the moment I started to change my mental attitude and change the way I was planning things and allowed myself just to take baby steps and not be disappointed with going 100 yards up the road and coming back and that be a wow moment, and not beating yourself up that if you said, well, I got halfway around today, there was a big tractor and a lorry, I got off and we walked home, but she did the whole route and make those positive steps. And then I think we discussed different ways for me to get back on, finding different places to do it, and realise you got to a point where I had to reach out and say, right, who else can physically help me because I'm getting stuck? And that was when I went to Jason Webb and said, Jason, what do I do? And he went, there's something more to this you're not quite saying. And I went, what do you mean? He said, well, you've come into the school and you've not got on this horse. You said it's because it's planting and napping and it won't move. What's the problem? And I went, oh, well, kind of. When I think about it, I'm losing a lot of energy to make this horse go. I'm actually a bit worried. It's quite big. Am I going to be able to stop it once I make it go? So he started the process and went the other way and said, right, we're going to teach her to stop. And then we'll talk about her going. And
Yes,
it was a light bulb moment. I was just like, why didn't I think of that? I've done this for years. That's bonkers.
If I might interrupt, what I opened with is, if you want to get control of the what ifs, turn them into if thens.
Yeah.
What if the horse doesn't stop?
Yeah.
Well,
you've got to have the solution. Yeah, you need the solution so that you can feel comfortable. You can say, what am I going to do? So if the what if turns into it's happened, how do I then deal with it? You know, I've ridden for years. I'm an experienced rider, and people go, well, you're the instructor. You should know how to do this. And you're like, yeah, I should. And probably if I'm standing on the ground, I'd say to you, ride it forward, go, go. And I'm like, why am I not doing exactly what I would tell anyone else to do? So even now, there are moments where, like the last few weeks, it's been wet and horrible and Shadow's been in a little bit more. And I rode her out the other day and she was quite fresh and quite bouncy. And I know a few months ago, I would have gone, get off, just go home, get off. And I went, no, you're going to keep going. And every time she got a bit uppity, I said, no, you're not doing what I've asked, forward. You know, Jason put this thing into my head, ride it forward, ride it forward, ride it forward. It can't do anything.
Apparently,
it's going forward.
There was a chap called Xenophon 2,000 years ago, and he might have been Greek. And he said the answer to everything is to ride your horse forward. And I remember my first horse teacher saying you ride forward from your canter into your forward trot, and you carry on. It's not a downward, well, it is a downwards transition, but you ride forward into the trot, and then you slow within the trot. Then you ride forward into your walk. Then you slow within your walk. Then you ride forward into your halt. And
but I know where you were starting to go with the panic attacks. Where we started with the mantis vision, you started talking about the primitive brain and it just taking over. And everyone said to me, why'd you get off? I don't know. Blind panic. It's the primitive brain has taken over and said, the safest place for you and your body is to put yourself on the floor, and then your horse is not going to throw you off. I've never fallen off, Shadow. So why was I getting off? It's just bonkers. But you have to sort of step away and go, if I was an instructor looking at me going, don't do that, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? So you can see why instructors stand there and shout at you and go, don't be so stupid, get on with it.
That's exactly, yeah. So what I'd done, just listening to this podcast, and this chap, I've forgotten his name now, that's bad, was saying that if you imagine your panic attacks as simple mistakes, they're a mistake. In fact, the word panic attack implies some sort of attack. It's not an attack. It comes from a place of love to look after yourself.
Yep.
And it's trying to look after you, and it's simply made a mistake.
Yeah, it's got confused, and my brain started saying, on the ground is the safer place to be. Is it? I've got over a ton of horse and over a ton of horsepower. My little arms are not going to stop that. There's no way I can control that from the ground. If she decides she's going, I've just got to let it go.
But if you think of it like, if you've trained your primitive to be oversensitive and make these mistakes and then allow them to, it's like investing in a fire alarm that is too sensitive and it keeps going off when you cook the toast. Now, which would you rather have? Would you rather have a fire alarm that doesn't go off ever, or goes off 90% of the time, but there might be a fire and it might not go off? Or would you rather have one which went off too much?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, in survival mode, you'd rather have one that went off too much.
But it's retraining your intellectual brain to actually step up and say, well, you check this situation, go there, it's fine.
Because if it was a fire alarm, and we've all had the experience of having fire alarms that do go off when the toast goes in, and we have no reaction to it, we don't then add the meaning that something's wrong. But people get so frightened of feeling frightened and add the meaning that therefore that means they're a rubbish horse rider, and we're off.
Yeah.
We're off on a downward spiral. I'm no good, and then you ride less, and then you get less experience, and so on.
And
so
I know
on.
the other day I certainly wasn't in my comfort zone. Shadow had got her head up, she was bouncing down the road, she was looking for monsters everywhere. But I was like, I'm not having it. You've got to go forward, you're going to get on with it. And I got to the end of the road and I just said to her, if you don't behave this last bit back home, we're going the other way and we're going to go up that blooming great big hill over there and you're going to trot the whole way because I'm fed up with you messing about. And she like just dropped her head and kind of went, okay, better get on with it because you're going to make me do it, aren't you? So I think she's then sensing your determination to go, I'm not having it. And the next day I rode her, she was back like a Blackpool Beach donkey.
And your story today is absolutely invaluable because there will be people watching or watching on replay who will identify with where you were, and then you've applied some easy principles, and now you're taking control of the horse. And when it's about to go up in its anxiety, you're like, look, behave. You're telling him what to do and expecting it to do what you've told it.
Yeah. And I think I know a few months ago there was no way I would have ridden her through that. I am certain I would have just got off and go, I just got to walk home, I can't do this. But logical steps, step by step. And I think people that are at the beginning of this process, don't be disappointed. Set yourself tiny baby steps and repeat it until you're bored. Yeah, be patient because this has been months of work.
Yeah,
I'm doing the 12-week challenge, and I think one of the other ladies, Denise, is on the 12-week challenge as well. And she said, "Oh, well done," because I'd been out for an hour and a half ride in the wind, and it's all, and I loved it. I enjoyed it, and I kind of just then posted back to her. Do you remember the days I couldn't get out this gate? This was my wildlife camera that had captured me coming in, sauntering in, rain slopping along, coming back to the gate, all relaxed, just slopping home. And I just thought a few months ago I couldn't even get out of that gate. Never mind having been out round the roads, looked at monsters, horses galloping around the fields for an hour and a half, no problem. So I feel like I've got a different horse, but I haven't. I've got a different me. My approach to it is different.
Brilliant. No, absolutely marvellous. Thank you for coming on and sharing that. And before myself and Nikki ring off, the last little bit that occurred to me, Nikki, you might not, you might be too young actually. Do you remember a program called Dad's Army?
I do.
And there was an old guy who used to shout, "Don't panic" all the time, and that was his catchphrase.
It's Jonesy. Don't panic. Don't panic.
Don't panic. And that is all that a panic attack is, and if you identify your panic attack moments as Jonesy kicking off, and it's not actually related to you, it's a mistake. Jonesy's made a mistake, or the toaster fire alarm's made a mistake. It's simply a mistake. And you can work through the problems that have caused this up. Every problem has a solution, but don't give in to the panic attacks and think that they mean something. In fact, I hate the word panic attack. It's just wrong. Don't give in to the mistakes.
I've got my keep calm and carry on jumper. Keep calm and canter on.
Keep calm and canter on.
Lovely. Go forward, isn't it? At the end of the day, just go forward. But it doesn't matter if it's 2 steps forward. I had months where I couldn't get her around the field and I was just putting cones around the field. And they were 10 metres apart and I was excited if I got to the next 10 metres. And just do that again and again until it just becomes a little bit more of a comfort zone. And then it came the triangle that I'd ride around the road. So I've got the long stretch up the road where I can meet big lorries. I'd be like, I got past that. Now I can do the easier bit coming home.
The other side of patience is not having your own expectations come and beat you around the head.
Yeah. Don't expect to go to badminton next week. Yeah. If you do a trot pole, happy days.
I've had this horse 3 months now. I should be is just nonsense, because what you've got is what you've got. What should be is just a hiding for nothing. And if you keep throwing yourselves at the should be's, then you're going to get nowhere fast. There's no should be. You are where you are. Infinite patience. Horses are patient. You need patience for horses. You need patience and a sense of humour, and that's it. There we are, from Fabulous. Nikki and Shadow and me. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you later.
Happy ponies.
Bye. Thanks, Nikki.
Thanks.